I would like also to thank you all for being here today with us. Indeed, 5 years have passed since the delivery of our judgment in the maritime delimitation in the Black Sea, and I would say it is indeed a very touching moment. And it is equally great to see here together again the very special colleagues and friends who were part of the excellent team which made possible the outstanding result for Romania of the proceedings in our case. And it was truly an outstanding result. 79.34% of the disputed area of around 12,200 square kilometers, that is 9,700 square kilometers of continental shelf and exclusive economic zone, allotted to Romania by the Hague Court, which is the first extension of sovereign jurisdiction and sovereign rights of Romania after the Great Union of 1918. Let me state again how honored I was as agent of Romania before the court for this case, all along the 4 years, 4 months, and 18 days of our case before the court, to be part of this team and to work together with you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say a few words on the significance of this judgment number 100 of the World Court for the Romanian foreign policy. And this is indeed very difficult for a lawyer and former agent in this case, as I would love to speak about the legal features of the delimitation in the Black Sea. But I have full confidence that both Professors Alain Pellet and Jean-Pierre Cot and my good friend Cosmin Dinescu will present to you in detail the legal intricacies of our case, and they will do it brilliantly. The judgment of the 3rd of February 2009 solved a dispute which lasted for no less than 42 years. First, Romania negotiated with the Soviet Union for 20 years in 10 rounds between 1967 and 1987. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the issue of the maritime delimitation was negotiated with Ukraine in the context of the Treaty on Good Neighborliness and Cooperation of 1997. This 1997 basic or political treaty did not solve the issue, but established in the additional agreement by exchange of letters between the ministers of foreign affairs of the two countries, concluded at the same time with the treaty, the legal possibility to settle the dispute through ICJ should the negotiation fail, and pending the fulfillment of a quite complex set of conditions. Then 6 years of heavy negotiations between Bucharest and Kiev took place through 34 rounds of talks. Only in 2004 those conditions were met and Romania was able to seize ICJ in September. The political decision to settle the dispute in The Hague was taken following the careful assessment that negotiations would not be able to lead us to a result in accordance with Romania's national interests. And it was a perfect choice, as it allowed us to make best use of the smart instruments of international law to the benefit of our country. When I presented my introductory speech as agent of Romania before the court on the 2nd of September 2008, I underlined precisely this point. Allow me to quote the first paragraphs of that speech in the French original, which illustrated beyond any other arguments. Pour la Roumanie, le respect rigoureux du droit international représente la base même, le noyau essentiel de notre politique étrangère. Le droit international est, pour un pays européen de la taille de la Roumanie, l'instrument le plus efficace pour aboutir aux solutions équitables dans les différends internationaux. Cette constante de la politique étrangère de mon pays trouve ses racines dans la contribution roumaine au développement du droit international et de la justice internationale. L'école roumaine de droit international a donné inter alia un juge à la Cour permanente de justice internationale pendant toute la période d'activité de celle-ci, de Maître Negulescu, qui a écrit avec une grande autorité scientifique sur les avis consultatifs, ainsi qu'un des principaux fondateurs du Conseil du droit international pénal et de Cour pénale internationale, Vespasian Pella, pour n'en mentionner que 2 exemples. Il s'ajoute à la contribution de Nicolae Titulescu, qui est l'un des auteurs de la définition de l'agression inscrite dans les conventions de Londres de 1933, les conventions Titulescu-Litvinov, et le promoteur visionnaire du concept de la spiritualité des frontières, qui annonçait déjà les principes de Schengen et des organisations internationales régionales. En ce qui concerne le droit de la mer, les travaux préparatoires de la Convention de Montego Bay témoignent de l'apport substantiel de la Roumanie, la lettre et l'esprit de ces propositions étant retenus très largement par le texte de la Convention. C'est la première fois que la Roumanie se présente devant vous dans le cadre d'une affaire contentieuse, En septembre 2004, quand la Roumanie a saisi la Cour de cette affaire, mon pays l'a fait en faisant pleine confiance à la haute juridiction pour régler de façon juste et impartiale ce différend, en se fondant sur le riche acquis de sa jurisprudence en la matière. Cet acquis représente pour la Roumanie la garantie absolue d'une solution équitable et conforme au droit. Ladies and gentlemen, the result of the proceedings in our case, as decided in the 2009 judgment, has confirmed the validity of our belief. The use of international law is a strategic option for Romania, as this choice maximizes its efforts to achieve its national interests. Solving by this means a long-standing dispute of 42 years, which was impossible to deal with through negotiations, is a telling proof of this conclusion. Indeed, the solution provided by the court was better than any result it would have been achieved through negotiations. The most favorable proposal made by the ex-USSR in 1987 would have given Romania only 50% of the disputed area at that moment. That is no more than about 4,000 square kilometers. In contrast, the court's judgment allotted to Romania around 9,700 square kilometers, which is in fact almost more than 2 times and a half. The delimitation methodology used by the ICJ in the case Romania versus Ukraine followed, as Romania has argued in its pleadings during the proceedings, the method developed by the court in its consolidated case law, an equidistance line, which was not further adjusted according to relevant circumstances, as they were not identified in the case, method which Romania had proposed during the negotiation process as well. Romania's line of reasoning before the court was largely assumed by the ICJ, especially the rejection of the use of Serpent's Island as a base point for drawing the equidistance line, as it was not integrated in the configuration of the Ukrainian coast, and the refusal to recognize any other role to this maritime rocky formation in the process of delimitation, as well as the assessment that there was no disproportion between the lengths of the relevant coasts of the 2 countries. In the ICJ case law, this judgment represents an important benchmark, being already cited and used in subsequent delimitations. The fact that the judgment was adopted with unanimity, as Judge Keith mentioned, without any separate or dissenting opinions, including by the ad hoc judges, is not only without precedent in the ICJ jurisprudence, but also a solid proof of the soundness and sustainability of the solution of the court. And I have no hesitation to say that this case has consolidated the expertise of Romania in international law, as well as the profile of the Romanian School of International Law and of my country as a firm promoter of international law instruments of dispute settlement. But this is no accident. This conference is not dedicated exclusively to this maritime delimitation case. It shows a long-time dedication of my country to put to practical value the noble virtues of international law since the times of the Permanent Court of International Justice. And we will continue to do so. Our intention to accept the compulsory jurisdiction of ICJ is yet another testimony in that regard. In the bilateral relations with Ukraine, the judgment of the 3rd of February 2009 removed an extremely complicated and sensitive problem from the political agenda. As a matter of fact, both states immediately welcomed the solution provided by the judgment of the court, and I'm glad to note that there has been no problem in its implementation since 2009 to present. We also hope that this example of settlement will positively influence the resolution of other complex bilateral issues still pending. From a larger perspective, the case in The Hague and its outcome represent a model of dispute settlement by peaceful means in the wider Black Sea region and its neighborhood. And this is an area, I think you will agree, where conflicts and tensions are not missing. From pending maritime delimitations in the Caspian, Adriatic, and Mediterranean seas, to frozen conflicts and disputes related to national minorities or energy, Romania stands ready to share its expertise and lessons learned to the benefit of the region and beyond. Another significance of our case for the Romanian foreign policy lies in the field of energy security. Beyond the legal battle with various arguments and lines of reasoning before the court, the stake of getting a favorable delimitation line was indeed represented by the hydrocarbon resources in the disputed area. I am glad that the explorations performed by now show very good prospects for such important resources in the area allotted by the judgment to my country, which is likely to ensure a high degree of energy independence for Romania in the not-too-distant future. Before concluding, let me warmly thank all those who, since the 70s, be they lawyers, diplomats, or from other Romanian institutions, and some of them are here with us today, have brought their valuable contribution to the resolution of this dispute. And let me come back again to my team and my colleagues. Without them and their very hard work, this excellent result would have been unachievable. It was a wonderful spirit of friendship and cooperation which reigned in our team during those years, and I would pay tribute to it again and again. I want to thank Professor Pele for his great skills and professionalism, but most of all for his very young spirit and his sincere dedication as a true friend of Romania, not to mention he's the only one who dared compare me his agent in a very delicate moment of the preparation for the second tour of the oral hearings in September 2008 with, I quote in French, une pile électrique, end of quotation, when I was imperatively asking for more work to be done. And I want to express as well my gratitude to Professors James Crawford and Von Law for their hard and exceptional work together with us. My only regret is they were unable, again for professional reasons, to be here today. Danielle Müller and Simon Olsen, thank you for your invaluable support and input, and I'm so glad and honored that our case was the first one when you started to plead before the court. Now the Romanian part of the team, as co-agent, Cosmin Dinescu was perfect, seeing things which I was unable to see, always with a sharp mind and bright proposals. Liviu Dumitru, the silent organizational mastermind of our team, Ioana Preda, Irina Niță, Mirela Pascaru, Catinel Brumar, Olivia Horvat, Rodica Vasile, Ion Gâlea, Alina Orosan, and many others from the MFA, our cartographers from the Ministry of Defense, Eugen Laurian, Octavian Buzatu, the most skillful wizard of our maps and sketches, and Ovidiu Neghiu, the colleagues from the National Agency of Mineral Resources, German and Boros. For me, you members of this wonderful team and your friendship are the most win I have achieved after this experience. You have done your job perfectly, and I am convinced that this country should be proud to have you in its service. And indeed, this work was a challenge for all of us, from the professional, be it legal, technical, or political point of view, but even personally, because it tested our limits, our minds, and even our physical resilience. But it was worthy, and I wish you test your capabilities again for other important projects for Romania. May you create your own teams and take such projects of national coherence to the good end. You have proven through your daily effort that the Romanians are able to defend their national interests with pride and efficiency. Last but not least, I want to thank our colleagues from the press, either in Bucharest or in The Hague. Your support, especially during the hearings of September 2008, was invaluable. You managed to connect yourself to the special atmosphere of the hearings and to the state of mind of our team, to the intensity of our effort, and through you, you have connected us to the Romanian public back home. You lived together with us the emotions of the moment, thus bringing an essential moral support to our team, which meant a lot to us. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my intervention by thanking again you all for your presence here. Let me also thank warmly to our partners and sponsors who made this event possible. I wish every success to today's conference, which aims at analyzing the interaction of Romania with the international jurisdictions of The Hague and the constant attachment of my country to the development and implementation of international law. Let me reiterate what I have mentioned at the end of our oral pleadings on the 16th of September 2008, when I have presented the submissions of Romania before the International Court of Justice. International law is the prominent sovereign that all actors and actions of the international community should follow and respect. I said then, the inspired words of Nicolae Titulescu come to my mind. He used to define state sovereignty, I quote in French, comme étant grevé d'une servitude internationale en faveur de la paix et du droit international. May these words guide us all to the benefit of the mankind in achieving the international rule of law. Thank you.